I never thought my life would become a cliche, the kind of thing you'd see on a soap opera or hear about in hushed tones at the local diner. I was just an ordinary guy, doing my best to keep my family together and build a life that mattered. My wife Julia and I had been married for 10 years. We had our ups and downs like anyone else, but I always believed in us, in her. That belief shattered one Thursday afternoon. It started innocently enough. Julia had been spending more and more time out with friends, girls' nights, work dinners, yoga retreats. At first, I didn't think much of it. Everyone needs their space. But when her phone suddenly became a fortress of secrecy, I started to wonder. It wasn't like her to guard it so fiercely, always flipping the screen down when I walked into the room or clutching it like a lifeline. Suspicion gnawed at me, but I pushed it aside. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I wasn't as attentive as I should have been. And this was her way of coping. But doubt has a way of burrowing into your mind and refusing to let go. So one night when she was in the shower, I made the decision that would change everything. I looked at her phone. It didn't take long to find what I was dreading. A text thread with someone named Brian caught my eye. The messages were explicit, to say the least. And it wasn't just words. Pictures, videos, plans for weekend getaways I had no knowledge of. My hands shook as I scrolled through the evidence. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. My wife, the woman I had vowed to love and cherish, was having an affair. I could have confronted her right then and there. I could have screamed, raged, thrown her phone against the wall. But something stopped me. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was something deeper. A need to understand why. Instead, I set the phone down and waited for her to come to bed. That night, I barely slept. In the days that followed, I became an investigator in my own marriage. I checked phone records, emails, bank statements. It turned out Brian wasn't some passing fling. He was her coworker, someone I'd met at office parties and shaken hands with. The betrayal burned, but I kept my cool. If she thought I didn't know, I had the upper hand, and I was going to use it. First, I hired a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, but one of the best divorce attorneys in the state. I wanted to make sure everything was airtight. Next, I started documenting everything. Every text, every call, every sneaky weekend away. I even hired a private investigator to gather irrefutable proof. This wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. If she was going to destroy our marriage, I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. The day I confronted her is burned into my memory. I waited until we were alone, sitting across from each other at the dining table. She was scrolling on her phone, sipping her favorite red wine, completely unaware of the storm brewing around her. "Julia," I said, keeping my voice steady, "we need to talk." She looked up, a hint of irritation crossing her face. "Can it wait? I'm in the middle of something." "No, it can't," I replied. "I know about Brian." Her face froze for a split second before she plastered on a fake smile. "What are you talking about?" Yeah, I pulled out the folder I'd prepared and slid it across the table. "This." She hesitated, then opened it. As she flipped through the pages, her face went white. Texts, photos, receipts. Everything was laid bare. She couldn't deny it. "You went through my phone?" she snapped, her voice rising. "That's such an invasion of privacy. You're being petty." "Petty?" I echoed, disbelief dripping from my words. "You've been lying to me for months, cheating on me with a man I trusted, and I'm the petty one?" Her eyes darted around the room, searching for something to say, some way to spin this in her favor. I didn't mean for it to happen. You've been distant. You're always working. I felt neglected." I laughed bitterly. "Neglected? Is that your excuse? You could have talked to me, Julia. We could have worked through it. But instead, you decided to blow up our life because you felt neglected." She started crying then, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret. Just a cold, detached determination. I reached into my bag and pulled out another folder. "What's this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Divorce papers," I said simply, sliding them across the table. "You'll notice I've already signed. All you need to do is add your signature." Her hand shook as she picked up the papers. "You can't be serious? We can work this out. I made a mistake, but we can fix it." I leaned back, crossing my arms. "No, Julia, you made a choice, and now you have to live with it." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings and awkward encounters. Julia tried everything to win me back. Tearful apologies, promises to change, even attempts to seduce me. But I saw through it all. She wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. I got the house, my car, and most importantly, my dignity. Julia moved in with Brian, but from what I heard through mutual friends, their relationship didn't last. Apparently, once the thrill of sneaking around was gone, so was the spark. As for me, I've moved on. It wasn't easy, but I've found peace in knowing I did the right thing. I deserve better, and now I'm free to find it. Sometimes life throws you curveballs, but it's how you handle them that defines who you are. Julia called me petty. Maybe she was right. But if standing up for myself and refusing to be a doormat makes me petty, then I'll wear that label proudly. Because in the end, I came out stronger. And she? Well, she's just a cautionary tale.